Well, thank you, Peter, and thank you all for being here, allowing us the opportunity to talk with you and share some ideas and compare ideas as well. So far, from what I've heard, I think TI is on the right track, but I'm sure my fellow panelists will correct me if I'm wrong. TI's vision is pretty clear and it's pretty simple. What we're trying to do as a company that supports education is we're trying to create a student-centric environment for learning. And that seems to be consistent with what we've heard so far. That's been a difficult thing to do. As a teacher, you're trying to manage a classroom with 30, 40, 50 students. So how in the world are you going to give them a way to collaborate, share ideas, explore concepts at their own pace? That's a difficult thing for a teacher to try to manage. But that's the goal. That's where TI sees the classroom moving toward is a student-centric classroom. And the teacher will always be an essential part of the classroom. And TI respects that, and we want to support that. And so the teacher management part, I've heard a couple of nice expressions today about the teacher being the sage on the stage, but migrating to more of a guide on the side. We at TI believe that's the right place as well. The teacher should be the central voice in the classroom that continues to motivate those students to reach their goals. And so we want to produce technology that will help them do that. Okay. So how do you create a student-centric classroom? We believe one way to achieve that is to give students a one-to-one experience with what they're trying to learn, the content. Their standards, the CBSE here in India, and the United States has standards. All over the country, every country has its own standards that the teachers are required to convey to the students. And that's also a very difficult task for those teachers, as most of you know. And so how do you give a one-to-one learning experience and try to get through all of those standards at the same time? It's very difficult. But we do know, we have research to back up the claim that active learning is a good way for students to get a deep understanding of whatever concept they're learning about. And so they're more engaged when they have the technology in their control. And some of the videos earlier were great examples of that. The iPod, listening to Harry Potter, and all those great examples. Students thrive on running the technology. They thrive on controlling the technology. So giving the teacher a way to take advantage of that is important. So the freedom to explore. What this slide is trying to convey is that as a teacher trying to manage all of these students, the big challenge is how is that even possible? We're taking our stab at this solution at TI, but I know others are as well. We have a system that allows the teacher to have visibility of every student's handheld that they use in the classroom. And so a student can use a handheld to explore a lesson. They can run a simulation. They can also collect real-world data with sensors and probes. They can collect any number of data points. We have 60 probes that we currently support, so the student can take the handheld outside, stick it in a pond, and get some data about pH of that pond water, the temperature, dissolved oxygen, all kinds of parameters. Only with the technology is this really possible or feasible in a classroom. So a teacher can manage all of this by having visibility of what everybody's doing. So this slide is just given an example, a TI-specific example of a teacher showing all the students the results of a quiz that she gave, where the students took the quiz on their handhelds, and the teacher showing the results to the classroom per item. In the science world, in the science education world, one of the toughest things for teachers to achieve is making the invisible visible. So taking concepts that are very, very small or very, very large, if you think about your experiences as students, when you had to learn about molecular biology, or if you learned about atomic structure, or on the other end of that scale, you may have learned about gravitational energy, gravitational force. Those are abstract concepts that are very difficult for a lot of concrete thinkers to understand. So how can we give them some visibility into that? Well, one way is through simulation. And so if you simulate these environments and you let the students control the variables, that gives them a visual perspective of how the system works. And so giving every student in your classroom the opportunity to explore this at their own pace and ask their own questions and change whatever variables they're interested in, that's possible now. And it should be possible for every student in the future. Like the speakers before me, this is probably one of the most important parts of learning. Being able to take the theory that you're taught in the classroom and associate it to something that's real world, also difficult. I'm the teacher in the classroom. I'm given a stack of standards that I'm required to teach these students. And those standards say nothing at all about how that concept relates to the real world. That's up to me to try to figure out. Or it could be up to the students to try to figure out. But the point is it's difficult to do. So we want to give the students an environment that they can make those associations. They can take a genetics lesson and associate it to something real world. Agriculture. Most of our agricultural yields are because of genetic manipulation of crops. Sinusoidal curves. Who cares about sinusoidal curves? Who in this room cares about sinusoidal curves? But when you put it into the perspective of circular motion, rotation of a tire, the tire diameter, how much wears on the tire over so many rotations, when you start connecting those kinds of things to real world issues, it becomes more relevant to them. So a couple of examples here where students can participate in a simple genetics activity. Here's the real world context there where the pea plants. This is a Ferris wheel showing how the rotation of a Ferris wheel models a sinusoidal curve. So I'm taking a real world thing that the students can see in their minds or they may have had experience, and I'm associating it to the mathematics behind it. This example, this is where simulation becomes really important. Things that I cannot do in a science lab. I can't show students the inverse square law of the gravitational force between two massive objects. I can't do it. There's no way to do it. Traditionally, this is taught through mathematics, using Newton's law of universal gravitation. I got a bunch of variables up on the board. I give the students some problems to practice, but they may have no clue what this means. If I can give them an environment where they can actually see it and interact with the variables and see the expression of the data represented below here, they may have a better chance of knowing what Newton's law of universal gravitation really means. And finally, in terms of real-world connections, being able to collect data from sources around you, being able to understand the world in a mathematical and a quantitative way, those are skills they're going to take with them into industry. And so one of the things that our solution offers is the ability to plug in up to 60 different sensors and collect 60 different parameters. Now, we're not the only ones that do this, but it is important that educators know that these solutions are out there and they are available. So coming back, we talked a lot about the circle in the middle of that first diagram, the student-centric. But again, coming back to the teacher has to believe that it's possible to create a student-centric environment. Until we convince the teachers, it will never happen. And so the teachers, the more visibility we give them into the students' progress of thinking, the better they're going to buy into a 21st century solution. And so this is just a slide that shows that the teacher can collect the data from every single student in the classroom, and they can create a grade report. Students can have formative assessment questions within every activity, have the students answer those, and then collect all of that information back, and the system grades it for them. And so that frees the teacher up to create more exciting lessons, more creative lessons. Just for informational purposes, TI has just well, we're preparing to create or launch our new solution, but we have 9 pilot sites around the country of India right now piloting this kind of classroom. a student-centric, teacher-managed classroom. If you'd like more information about that, please stop by our booth. We'd love to talk to you about it. And just to conclude, just to bring this slide back up again, this is the model that we're operating under. We'd love any feedback that you have for us, so please stop by our booth. And with that, I think I'm finished. Thank you. Thanks.